News, Bradford.
The front pages of the newspapers coming your way after Charlotte now with a rundown of what else is happening.
Thanks, Eamon. New plans to reform Britain's welfare system will be revealed later. The new Work and Pensions Secretary, Ian Duncan-Smith, has said he wants to make unemployment benefits more conditional on the person's willingness to work. He told The Guardian that the current programme was bust, so much so that some people on benefits were seen as morons for taking jobs. Darren Little has this report.
After spending years analysing...
Alistair will be there in Ramsgate, keeping an eye on what's happening there. It's looking a bit rainy and blustery there at the moment in Ramsgate. Perhaps it'll cheer up a bit later on, hopefully.
Though it was very welcome for my garden this morning, I have to say, which we'll check with Lucy.
To see whether that's going to continue.
Yeah, we will, Charlotte. Well put. Front pages of the papers, let's look through those. The Express first. Here we are, Sky News Sunrise on a Thursday morning. If you haven't got your newspapers yet, don't worry. We've got James Whale to run through those with you very shortly. Very nice to see you, James.
I'm the paper boy today.
You are the paper boy.
Okay.
Personal delivery for everybody. Leading the news this morning, Sky News understands that the man being questioned...
News, Bradford.
Papers coming your way with James Whale after this from Charlotte.
Thanks, Eamon. New plans to reform Britain's welfare system will be revealed later. The new Work and Pensions Secretary, Ian Duncan-Smith, says he wants to make unemployment benefits older, yeah. Well, that's the guy that, you know, came up with the idea. That's why it's cutting-edge, youth market. He has to be a bit younger,
and he hasn't thought it through. Maybe that's why he isn't old enough to...
I suppose we shouldn't say what Eamon said he looked like before, should we?
No, maybe not.
No, OK,
we'll
fine.
A touch of the nerdiness about him, isn't there? It sort of says it all.
I don't think he'll be watching this morning anyway, so you're all right.
Perhaps we could ask him, you know, if we could help him in any way, because he must have a few bob, mustn't he?
He must have a few bob now.
You think that's a good idea?
I'm not sure you're the kind of people he'd be looking for as consultants for Facebook, to be honest.
What, us?
OK, let's instead look through the newspapers. James, good morning to you.
Good morning to you. Now...
we have, first of all, a disturbance. There's a medical matter here. There's a woman with cancer.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be treated, and the judge is saying, yes, she must be treated.
It's a very, very difficult story, this, you know, and as somebody who runs a cancer charity myself and somebody who's had cancer, there was a time when I first found out that I had cancer that I decided... I don't think I really wanted to have surgery and all that sort of stuff, and I decided this is a little more involved because this woman has what they call learning disabilities, but that could cover a multitude of sins, and it is a very, very difficult case. In fact, a number of people are saying they hope this doesn't set a precedent because, depending upon your state of mind, you may decide, well, you know, that you don't want to be messed around. You might decide, talking to the doctors, that you just like to be left alone to peacefully
you haven't got
go.
The strength to see it through.
Exactly. They decided this woman couldn't really make a rational decision for herself. Now, one wonders. I think it's a very worrying story and one that needs to be discussed quite a lot because a lot of people. I'm sorry to be so serious beginning today, but I think this is it's slightly worrying precedent that somebody other than yourself could decide on whether or not you needed to have an operation. So I think it's one we have to be wary of.
Look, you talked about being serious, but here's another story in the Daily Mirror, and just credulous what we're going to see here. Let's have a look at the picture here. This is Boy for Sale is the headline, and this is in China, and the young lad you're seeing here is 8 years of age, and he is chained to a lamppost. Why, James?
It's a very sad... I mean, I don't know what's wrong with me today. I was in quite a good mood, and then I looked through the papers and it all went. You know, we all get fed up with our kids from time to time, and they don't behave the way we'd like them to behave. This boy's father got upset because he's unruly, he wouldn't do what he was told, so he took him out in the street, chained him to a lamppost and tried to sell him. Some people may say only in China. There are a few worrying stories from China in the papers today. This is one of them. And the poor little lad looks really lost and very upset. It's a worry, isn't it, that this country doesn't seem to be able to understand how to sort out the problems of its people.
Well, though, having said that, angry people stepped up to try and free the youngster, and there was a punch-up as the dad tried to intervene. So the dad is a widower. His wife died 3 years ago, and he says the lad's unruly and he can't deal with them. I mean, the man might have problems of his own. But the police have taken the man into custody, but the boy's been given to his
grandparents. Yeah. So it may be a happy ending. I don't know, but it is such a tragic and sad story, don't you think?
It's really sad, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And especially, you know, sometimes children sort of say things like, oh, I want to run away from home, and then your mum or dad will turn around and sort of say, you know, well, go on then. And you'd think perhaps he's just done this to punish him or something, but actually to seriously do that to a child is just heartbreaking.
I suppose if we were going to play devil's advocate, it is, you know, imagine trying to bring up a kid on your own and you're on your own. It is a difficult situation. I wouldn't want to do it.
Here's a difficult situation which there seems to be some common sense applied to it.
I think so.
This man is the magistrate who said what?
Well, he actually called a couple of yobbos scum. Now, it's one of my favourite words, and from time to time, on my radio show, it slips out of my mouth and I get into terrible trouble.
Vermin is the one I like.
Do you like vermin?
I like
vermin, but and I'll tell you why I like scum. I don't want to call people animals. I think that's unfair to the animal kingdom. Why should you call somebody bad an animal? Scum, that horrible bit of thing that floats on the water that you don't want, I think it is a very, very good description of somebody who behaves as this magistrate described. And he described them very, very well. Common sense has prevailed because he was going to be sacked and they've reinstated him. And I think that's a good news story, don't you?
OK, so he gets back to work in a few weeks' time then.
And let all the scum be warned.
OK.
Yeah.
Now, here's where common sense doesn't apply. There's a woman called Susan Longworth, and Susan works in the Park Cake Factory, which is in Bolton.
Yeah.
Right?
Now,
and she's been there since 1993. She got the sack for what?
Well, I think common sense did prevail, you see, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
This woman, apparently, according to the paper, stole a hazelnut. Charlotte's laughing. Now, you know, it's not about stealing the hazelnut if you read the story. It's about hygiene. And the company that she works for, you don't stick your hands, gloved or not, in my opinion, into the production line, taking something off, biting a bit,
but
or whatever.
But it may be an involuntary reaction.
Not after
She didn't
17
bite a
years.
bit. It says there it was a little bit of hazelnut. It wasn't even a whole bit of hazelnut. It probably
So what, she
wasn't
bite a bit
going
off
to be
and put
used
the rest
anyway.
back?
No, she obviously didn't. It's obviously just there on the side. She probably just picked it up and...
You're not allowed to do it. It's stealing it. No.
No,
She deserved to be
nonsense.
sacked.
Could you
Isn't that one of the
imagine?
I
perks
never
of-
speak
Could you
nonsense.
imagine some of the
Perks of
sights we
job.
don't see in kitchens
I
around
can.
the country?
And if they're in the papers, I'll talk about them.
The
But this
woman
one
standing
is
there,
today.
could you imagine you and me refraining from nibbling whatever's coming down the conveyor
Will
belt
you
in a-
stop
in a
talking about
cake
that
factory?
publicly? Will you stop it, please?
No,
I'm
think,
trying to get fit.
I think this
for
is very
summer.
sad. I think this woman, she's been there for 17 years. She's a grandmother, and she's branded a thief. I mean, they actually say she was suspended, she was fined, she was fired, and frog marched from the premises.
Yeah, I think it's a jolly good job. You know, start nicking from your employer. That's what's going to happen to you.
Well, I just
right?
think that's a job's worth thing. Susan, I'm on your side. No, certainly not on the side clampers.
I'm glad to see that.
This is a boss of a rogue wheel clamping firm.
You don't
Are they-
like clampers,
Are
do
they not
you?
all rogues, all of these firms?
I would like to disassociate myself from that
Well, I
last
wouldn't.
comment.
I think it's a foul practice. It's a
I agree.
terrible
Listen,
practice.
it is a terrible practice. There are some legal ones, all right? We won't discuss that now, but there are some legal ones. This one, this boss of this rogue company, he was making over £3,000 a day. That's more than you make, nearly. So, I mean, he's doing very, very well, isn't he? But he's got done, and quite rightly so. These people... Could we go back to my favourite word?
Yes.
Scum.
Right.
Scum. OK, is that offensive? I don't know. Anyway, the judge has told him that his company was nothing more than a ruthless scam which left its victims feeling robbed and bullied.
Yes,
and
but can I just say, whether they're legal or whether they're not, that is the effect clamping.
Yeah.
It is the
No,
effect
no, you're right.
clamping
No,
and removing cars
You
has
are
on
right.
any owner.
Yeah.
But the thing is, if you had a car park, if you really needed to park your car somewhere and someone else was parking there and they did that consistently, the only way of stopping them is by threatening something like car clamping,
Yeah.
isn't it? Because they wouldn't be bothered otherwise.
I mean, I have trouble parking here. Some people get really upset here about their parking spaces.
I get very attached to my cars.
Do you?
I see my cars as quite personal.